So what is the purpose of the professional summary area of your resume, right? The professional summary, some call it the summary, some call it professional overview, whatever term you use. This is the part of your resume that's right beneath where you put your name and your contact information, right? So what is the purpose of this section? So I actually talked about this a bit in a keynote in a recent event where I was a keynote speaker. And what I told them is this portion of your resume, the professional summary, the whole point of this area is simply to tempt the reader, kind of act as a hook, something that grabs their attention and makes them want to continue reading, right? And the analogy I used was, think about when you've ever been to a grocery store, right? Grocery store, Costco, whatever it is. You know how you have those people set up, giving out samples of food and drink and stuff like that? It's pretty much the same thing, right? I mean, what are they trying to do? They're trying to give you samples of the food or the drink or whatever it is so that you get a little taster, a little sampler, and it encourages you to want to learn more about the product or even just go for it and just purchase the product, right? So that is the same purpose of the professional summary. So what does that tell you? Like, you're not giving the whole product. You're not shoving a whole bag of, whatever the food item is in the customer's face, right? In this case, not the customer, but the recruiter or the hiring manager reading the resume. You're giving something that's gonna reel them in, grab their attention, and make them want to continue reading. And it's the same thing with the professional summary, right? You're giving tidbits of relevant information about yourself that's gonna make the person reading want to continue reading, right? So that when they read your professional summary, they're like, oh wow, that's pretty interesting. I mean, these are things that we're looking for in the ideal person for this role. Let me continue reading, right? So, and I wanted to share with you 4 tips on how you can start formulating your own professional summary as you go about doing this. Because just because it's a small summary, folks, don't underestimate the importance of it. It is still very, very important to have a strong, appealing, attention-grabbing professional summary. So that, again, it comes down to the recruiter wanting to read more or the hiring manager wanting to read further along your resume. So the first tip is, look, keep it short and concise. Again, it's a summary, right? It should be around, I'd say, 1 to 4 sentences max and 1 paragraph. This is not like a full page report or breakdown of your career, like mentioning everything. Make it quick and easy. Like, assume the person reading does not have much time. Like, they're simply trying to find out, should I keep reading this resume? In fact, I think that's a great question to kind of keep in mind when you're writing your professional summary. It should answer that question for the person reading. Should they keep reading your resume, right? And they're just going to simply be glancing at this area, taking a couple of seconds to read through it, and that's going to help them determine should they keep reading, right? So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, make sure it is relevant information. So this is where you got to customize the things that you mention in your professional summary. You got to customize it for the position, for the role that you're applying for, right? If it's not relevant, no matter how concise, no matter how great it is, if it's not relevant, it's not going to capture anyone's attention, right? And keep in mind, what's relevant to one organization might not be relevant to another organization. Now, a quick example I'm thinking of is, let's say you have extensive experience working in, say, the construction industry, right? You're applying for a role in the construction industry. Folks, you better believe that mentioning something in your professional summary, mentioning your past experience in the construction industry, better believe that that's going to be important. That's going to be relevant to this organization when they're coming across your resume, right? So you definitely want to mention that in that scenario. But let's say there's another scenario, right? Let's say you're applying for a job in the insurance industry, right? So you talking about your experience in the construction industry in your professional summary, I mean, it's not going to capture attention, right? Because it's not relevant unless we're talking about insurance experience within the construction industry, then it will be relevant to the insurance company, right? So it's all about, I mean, the context does matter, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is you got to customize it for the position that you're applying for. Don't assume you're just going to smack one professional summary together and it's going to appeal to every single organization out there. Maybe it might, but in some cases, like the example I gave, to one organization, it's going to be really appealing. To another organization, it's going to be like, it's not relevant, right? Which brings me to tip number 3. You got to know what to highlight, right? So this is where you got to take the time to review the job description, or maybe you're being represented by a recruiter, or you have a major point of contact at the organization, whoever it is. Like, you got to find out what are the key components, what are the key requirements that they're looking for in an ideal candidate. And that information is important because it's going to help you figure out, again, and act as that starting point for you to figure out, hey, what should I include in my professional summary, right? And this is not just, the company, the industry that you've been working on, but also skill sets, types of projects, et cetera, right? Like, you got to know what that stuff is. So the better your understanding of that stuff, the better you're going to be able to figure out what you should be mentioning in your professional summary. And tip number 4 is simply, folks, look, don't get overwhelmed. I know for those of you out there who might have tons of experience in a variety of industries, maybe you're a senior level person, you got like 8, 10, 15, 20 years of experience under your belt. It's easy to get overwhelmed, right? Because you don't know, okay, what should I mention? What should I leave out? What should I not mention? What should I mention? Or maybe you're a new graduate, right? You're a new graduate, you're just starting out your career. You don't know what you want to include in your professional summary. So this is where, again, knowing a bit more about the role, not getting overwhelmed as a result of it, and again, knowing a bit more about the role will help you not get overwhelmed because you're going to know exactly what you want to mention, right? If you're a senior person, you got tons of experience under your belt, knowing what they're looking for, knowing what's relevant, knowing what to highlight, you're going to know which aspects of your professional summary you definitely want to mention as part of your professional summary, which areas you want to leave out. If you're a new graduate, you're a student, this is where you might want to mention certain things you learned in school or certain things you did at your internship or your co-op that you want to maybe mention in your professional summary, right? So look, I hope these tips help. Make sure you hit me up with a like and a subscribe if you want to get notified. I put out videos on here a couple of times a week, or at least once a week or so. And I also do a weekly live stream on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. So make sure you mark your calendar. I talk about a job search related topic and I respond to questions live. So make sure you tune in Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone right here on YouTube. And again, hit me up with a subscribe, folks. Hit me up with a like. And make sure you share this particular video with anyone that you know that might be struggling with figuring out how to write their professional summary area. Hope these 4 tips helped. And, if there's anything in particular you want me to cover that is job search related, not necessarily just with resumes, but, if you need interview tips on how to deal with recruiters, tips in whatever aspect of your job search, feel free to drop them in the comments. And I'll either respond to your comment or I'll do a specific video in relation to the topic, right? So, hey, appreciate you watching. Hope you have a fantastic week ahead. Stay positive. Hope you have a great week in your job search if you're actively looking for jobs and new job opportunities. And I'll see you around next time.